community with knowledge, resources, and networking opportunities. And whereas, since the year of 2012, Mayor Awesome Mike Savage has overseen unprecedented growth and development throughout the municipality. And whereas, over that time, business community and political leaders have joined with Mayor Awesome Savage annually to hear him reflect on the remarkable events and people that have shaped the great municipality. I, Will McPherson Brewer, on behalf of the HRM, offer special thanks to our hosts in the Chamber of Commerce and Halifax Partnership, and welcome you to this, Mayor Savage's concluding state of the municipality. With that, I invite you to sit back, relax, and have fun. And for Mayor Mike Savage, God save the King in all his glory.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Will. That was great. Great way to kick us off and, frankly, to get everyone sitting down. Thank you. I wondered when you said God Save the King and then said Mike Savage whether that blended together. And it was King Mike Savage, but we'll determine that probably by the end of the day. Good morning and welcome to a very special edition of our annual State of the Municipality. The very last one with Mayor Mike Savage. With over 800 of you in the room, I think it's probably safe to say that Mayor Savage has had quite an impact on all of us. I would almost say that this could be a retirement party, but who knows what the mayor has planned for the future, so I don't want to steal any announcements that he may have coming. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that all of us here are in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded, unsurrendered, and ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people. It's my duty as a settler to work on indigenizing my own practices and my organization's practices. As many of us in this room are settlers in this land, we need to read, understand, and act on the recommendations in the Truth and Reconciliation Report and the treaties that cover this land. We're all treaty people. I'd also like to acknowledge the more than 50 African Nova Scotian communities who have been here in Nova Scotia for more than 400 years and recognize their significant contributions to the cultural, economic, educational, and artistic landscape of this province. And on behalf of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce and our co-host, the Halifax Partnership, I'd like to thank our sponsors for today's event. Our presenting sponsor, RBC, our host, there's a lot of them, I'll just keep going. Our host sponsors, WSP, Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, Emera, Office Interiors, the Halifax Regional Municipality, the Nova Scotia Department of Labour, Skills and Immigration, and our AV partner, Encore. Thank you to all of them for their support. I'd, of course, also like to thank our co-hosts for the event, the Halifax Partnership, but we'll both be thanking each other more as the day goes on. Before we get to the good stuff, I do just want to speak for a moment about the hard stuff and kind of address a couple of things, or put a couple of things out there. The Chamber is a business organization that represents over 2,000 businesses and not-for-profits in the greater Halifax and other areas who represent over 90,000 employees. Cities across Canada are the engine of the economy. I sit on a group of chambers and boards of trade for the 9 largest cities across the country, and these cities represent greater than 50% of the population and 50% of the country's GDP. Cities are the engine of the economy. But cities are in a tough position. Cities are the first to feel growth, the first to see growth, the first to spend to support growth, and sadly, the last often to receive the funds to support that growth. I know Halifax City staff recommended a greater than 11% tax increase this year, and through hard work and creative thinking, this was whittled down to just over 6%. Unfortunately, a 6% increase is still a lot for many of our members to bear and will make it tough for them in the coming year. Why are taxes increasing so much for municipalities like Halifax and other large centres across the country? Since September 2021, Nova Scotia's labor force of people aged 15 and older has increased by over 37,000 people. So 37,000 people in Nova Scotia. How many of them do you think work now in Halifax? I have the answer. It's 34,225. Yes, of that 37,000 people that began work in Nova Scotia, 92.5% of those people are working in Halifax, and of course, Greater Halifax, right now. Halifax is the engine of the province's growth. And who's benefited from this growth? Well, all of us, of course, but particularly higher orders of government. The province of Nova Scotia has benefited with an over 17% increase in revenue, or almost $3 billion, 3 times the budget of the municipality in the last 2 years. And sadly, Halifax has seen almost a 5% increase in revenue. It is time for a new municipal framework for our city and for cities across the country. That wasn't so hard. Now, on to the more interesting stuff. We've seen a lot of changes happen in Halifax during Mayor Savage's tenure as mayor. Mayor Mike Savage has led us during historic population growth, has led during significantly enhanced economic prosperity for the city, and an expanded downtown, and frankly, an expanded city in many, many areas. He's improved relations with the Indigenous communities and made this a priority. He's navigated us through COVID-19 while actively participating in the Chamber's Nova Scotia Business, Labour and Economic Coalition, which was a little group we put together from across the province that met initially bi-weekly or every couple of days, and then weekly, and then every couple of weeks for well over a year or two. And this group met to fast-track policy making and get quick responses and information from all levels of government. Over the last couple of years, he's also led us through natural disasters greatly impacting our city, including wildfires and floods in just the last year. And of course, he proudly wears his diversity and inclusion pin and will mention it to anyone who gets close enough to hear about it. The mayor has certainly prioritized making everyone feel included in Halifax, and that will be an important legacy. I just wanted to take a quick look back at some of our time with Mayor Savage over the last little while. I can't see, there we go. And here's Mayor Savage, I think, at his very first State of the Municipality in 2012. You can see it's a pretty small room in there. He hadn't yet started to invite his friends and family. Here's the mayor and I at our very first State of the Municipality in 2016. I must have asked a question about taxes at that point. Here's some other memories of us through the years. From trying out some dog food at Totally Raw Pet Food, to hanging out with one of our CNIB guide dogs when I met Mayor Mike at the airport in Ottawa as we were taking the dog to Ottawa, to celebrating Viola Desmond on the $10 bill with Cynthia Dorrington, one of our past chairs. But I think my favorite memory of the mayor and I has to be when he was my first patient while the chamber team was volunteering at COVID testing sites. Remember those days of COVID when anyone could learn to put a stick up your nose within about 15 minutes? Yes, I did the mayor's first nasopharyngeal swab. And he did cry just a little. Mayor, thanks for all the memories over the years. It's now my pleasure to welcome my co-host, Wendy Luther, President and CEO of the Halifax Partnership. Wendy.
Patrick, we are delighted to once again be co-hosting this important event with the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. And a big thank you to our staff teams who have been working so hard behind the scenes to make today's event possible. I'm Wendy Luther, President and CEO of Halifax Partnership. Thank you, Mayor. Halifax's public-private economic development organization. And for over 27 years, Halifax Partnership has been attracting business and talent to our municipality and helping businesses and communities thrive. We settle for nothing less than a vibrant and prosperous Halifax. A big shout out to the chair of our board, Mr. Corey Bell, President and CEO of Lindsay Construction, and to the many Halifax Partnership board members and investors who fund us, govern us, and guide our work in the room with us today. In past years, I've taken this time to share with you some of Halifax Partnership's recent work and achievements. Today, I'm going to focus my attention on the contributions of one particular Halifax Partnership board member and team member, Mayor Mike Savage. I cannot overstate the role that Mayor Mike plays in driving economic growth and prosperity in our municipality and beyond. In addition to being an active member of our board of directors, in his self-appointed role as Halifax's Chief Marketing Officer, the Mayor's passion for our city, combined with his business acumen, is our secret weapon as we work to attract business to our city. The Mayor regularly meets with companies considering Halifax for expansion and builds relationships with our senior executives, champions our sister city economic relationships that we leverage for trade and investment, and actively drums up business for our region. Talent attraction and retention is top of mind for all business leaders, and the Mayor supports the work of our labor team through his active involvement in the Connector program, funded by the province of Nova Scotia and RBC. If you're not one already, everyone in this room should be a connector, and Mayor, we will be signing you up formally come October. The Mayor has assisted us with numerous multinational companies looking to attract their global workforce to Halifax by participating in virtual recruitment fairs. I watch in awe as the Mayor whips up his audience from vague curiosity about Halifax to excited to get on a plane and move here for good. Similarly, the Mayor's welcome for international students has the same impact on young people from around the world who have chosen Halifax for their studies, and post-graduation, they are more predisposed to staying here because of their interaction with our Mayor. Halifax's Partnership Smart Business team supports hundreds of local companies in reaching their full potential. Mayor Savage supports us in this work through Mayor's Celebrate Business, where together we visit local businesses, learn more about what they do, and celebrate their contributions to economy and our community. All of Halifax Partnership's work is guided by People, Planet, Prosperity, Halifax's inclusive economic strategy from 2022 to 2027. For this strategy and the previous 5-year economic strategy, Mayor Savage played a critical role in guiding our economic development focus. Whether Mayor is talking about People, Planet, Prosperity at Regional Council or at COP28 in Dubai, he makes sure the world knows what Halifax is all about. As a strong voice for the municipalities and businesses' role in addressing the impacts of climate change, the Mayor and HRM are inaugural signatories and partners of Halifax's CEO Climate Action Charter, a key action in the strategy. People, Planet, Prosperity's 3 to 5 year actions were approved by Regional Council in March, and we look forward to working with every one of you in this room as we bring these actions to life. Another area of our work that has been lifted up by the Mayor's enthusiastic attention is the African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity. The Mayor has been a tremendous champion for this economic strategy, which is created and led by members of the African Nova Scotia community. The Mayor, CEO Cathy O'Toole, and their teams meet regularly with Halifax Partnership's Road to Economic Prosperity team members and ANS community leaders to develop meaningful and lasting new ways of working together, combating over 400 years of systemic barriers and lack of access to economic opportunities. I've had the distinct honor of meeting with the Mayor and his team every Thursday morning, except for this morning, Mayor, but every other Thursday morning since I started at Halifax Partnership almost 5 years ago. We use this time to talk about the opportunities and challenges facing our city, and the Mayor is always eager and willing to roll up his sleeves with us. During these conversations, I've been squirreling away my favorite quotes and his words of wisdom. And perhaps my favorite is, it's better to have challenges of growth than challenges of stagnation and decline. Through growth and prosperity, we can find solutions to our challenges. At Halifax Partnership, we're all about growth, but not growth for growth's sake. We are in the economic development business because we believe that growing prosperity will make people's lives better. And Mayor Savage, you have certainly made a lot of lives better in Halifax. Now, you still have 5 months left on the job and much more work to do. I know that you'll be working hard to continue this momentum until your very last day, and we thank you. Now, we hope that our next mayor, whoever that may be, will continue to carry the torch of economic development throughout HRM and around the world. Now, Mayor, that was probably a lot too much praise for your liking, but never fear. Next April 26th, a year from tomorrow, we will all have the opportunity to witness his worship being heckled as the guest of honor, aka Roastie, at the 2025 Arthritis Society Canada's East Coast Roast. The event is being co-chaired by Corey Bell and Halifax Partnership investor and CEO of Ocean Contracting, Mr. John Fleming, and we hope you will all be there with us to celebrate the Mayor and raise money for this great cause. So thanks again to all of our sponsors, and before we break for lunch, we'll hear from one of today's sponsors, WSP. As one of the world's leading professional service firms, WSP exists to future-proof our cities and environment. They provide strategic advisory, engineering, and design services to clients in the transportation, infrastructure, environment, building, power, energy, water, mining, and resources sectors. Their 12,000 Canadian employees and 68,000 trusted professionals worldwide are united by the common purpose of creating positive, long-lasting impacts on communities through a culture of innovation, integrity, and inclusion. Let's watch their video, and we'll see you after lunch. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Just want to give you a chance to get down and get a seat. Well, this will be great. Get to hear from the Mayor in a few moments. See, we've got the media here. We have future contenders for Mayor. I'm trying to decide if now is the right time to announce my candidacy. Oh, look, sorry. I heard more laughs than claps, so I think that may tell me what's next. Anyway, welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. It was a great lunch, as usual, from the Convention Centre team. Always a delicious meal. There we go. So April is an exciting time for us at the Chamber as we begin what for us is a new year. And by doing that, we welcome a new board of directors and a new chair. This year, we have the pleasure of welcoming someone who's been involved with the Chamber for longer than I've been around. You know, they wrote that for me, and I wondered if that meant that if Anne was older than me. I know she's younger. I probably shouldn't have gone down this path. Anyway, Anne's been involved with the Chamber because I was away for a while, and then I came back. I'll explain to you all later. Anne is a passionate advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, a community leader, and an all-round wonderful person. Please join me in welcoming CEO of Ashanti Leadership and the Halifax Chamber's 2024 Chair of the Board, Anne Devine. Anne.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Welcome, everyone. Patrick, I'd just like to tell you, just for the record, that I am older than you. I'm so pleased to be here with you all today, both as an attendee and now the new chair of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. But before I go any further, I'd like to say thank you to all the former chairs who are here today, but most importantly, I'd like to say a special thanks to Chris Cowper-Smith, our outgoing chair. He is just an amazing person. And I'm sorry, David, I do love Chris. I'd also like to acknowledge the very first woman of African descent, Cynthia Dorrington, who served the Chamber. My journey, as with many immigrants' journey, started with volunteering at the local library, Keshen Goodman in Clayton Park, where I taught English to groups of highly educated new immigrant women like me trying to make a living in Canada and trying to be a success. Even after finding employment at the Nova Scotia Office of Immigration and at the Nova Scotia Human Rights Commission, where I worked as Race Relations, Equity, and Inclusion Manager, I continued and founded the Black and Immigrant Women's Network. The Chamber, along with the Halifax International Airport, was one of the first organizations to open their doors to us. I eventually got into government and then finally into entrepreneurship, where through the Human Rights Commission, I learned a lot about the business community in Nova Scotia. As Patrick mentioned, I'm passionate about human rights, diversity, equity, and accessibility and inclusion. I'm a firm believer in extending the table to include everyone and to invite folks to have a seat. I used to say, if nothing is prepared for you at the table, drink water. But I would invite everyone to invite those people at the table and find out from them, how can we meet your needs? And I can tell you, one of the most important things for me at the Chamber, and I credit the staff, I always know where my seat is. I don't have to see my name because there's a glass of water with no ice. So, through Ashanti leader, I also want to say that the Chamber also has a philosophy that helps to shape my thinking, and their guiding principle is also to extend that table. Through Ashanti Leadership, which is my company, I've worked with many incredible people and local organizations here in Nova Scotia. And I believe that many of our people here are trying their hardest to enhance diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion. And take no notice of the anti-DEI sentiments that's going around at the moment, because Nova Scotia is working hard to meet those needs. I know that because I work with you, so I know. I can speak from personal experience. I'm so happy to say that our amazing mayor is a leader in this space, introducing the diversity framework and encouraging more inclusion throughout the city of Halifax with its diverse programs. I have seen a lot of changes in Halifax since arriving here 20 years ago. The city has grown in large part, I say thanks to immigrants, which has led to a vibrant, diverse Halifax with food, culture, businesses, and opportunities. And I also want you to know that between my husband and I, we have contributed to this rise in immigration and in population because we have eight grandchildren, and 5 of those were born here in Halifax. Thank you. To keep the momentum and ensure no one is left behind, I want to hear from chamber members like you and your friends about our priorities in business and how our chamber can support you. Today, my plan is to take a leaf out of Mr. Mayor's, our amazing Mr. Mayor's book, and our premier, Tim Houston. If you watch them closely, they never sit down at the table at events. They always work in the room, getting to know people, meeting different individuals. And you know what? I'm going to borrow that style from you, Mr. Mayor. And I know you won't mind. Today, I'm very grateful to all of you, especially my family, my amazing husband who's sitting at the back. My husband promised me 20 years ago, sitting on the rocks at Peggy's Cove on a beautiful June summer's day. It was hot. I've never experienced that hotness again. Hold on. Listen to what he said to me. If you come with me to Nova Scotia, I promise you it would be like a new marriage. 20 years ago, this year we'll be 40 years married, and I fell for it, 20 of which is in Nova Scotia. I want to say a special thanks to all of you as I look forward to the new year. I think I can rely on you because many of you in this room, I know you very well. I can rely on you for your support. And I can rely on you for your continued leadership. And we at the Chamber can rely on you for your continued support. And I'll tell you a secret about the Chamber. The incoming leadership team amongst the board members, they are going to be 5 women at the helm. So Patrick, you're in trouble. At this time, I now have the pleasure of introducing our presenting partner, Chris Ronald, Regional President for Atlantic Canada at RBC. Thank you.
So good afternoon, everyone. And those were amazing words. A trailblazer, inspiring. I love the focus on diversity and inclusion. We're actually celebrating diversity and inclusion at RBC all this week. And it is so important, and it is something that I really love about the city of Halifax, is the way that it's growing and the support of diversity and inclusion, and how many different cultures are coming here that are making Halifax such a better city. Patrick and Wendy, the Halifax Partnership team, the Chamber, all our guests, hello. I can't tell you how fantastic it feels to be here, and for those that knew me from before, to be back here. And to see you all, it's been great walking the room, catching up, the opportunity before we came into the room, the networking. It feels very special for me. So as many of you know, I took on this role as Regional President for RBC Atlantic over 5 years ago, and it really was a dream come true. It was both personally and professionally, and it was everything that I thought, and it was a whole lot more. But opportunity came knocking, and I had an opportunity about 3 years ago in 2021 to lead the bank's Caribbean business. And my family and I headed to Bahamas, and it really was a tremendous experience. My job covered 10 different countries, each with their unique cultures, governments, regulations, and I really got to work with a remarkable group of employees. And we had some really fantastic growth in our business in the Caribbean, which our history it's been tough to come by. But I have to say, it wasn't Atlantic Canada. And for all the fantastic things that people think about living in the Caribbean and the beaches, what I think I really missed was, the one that stands out the most, is community. So while I had enough in the Caribbean to keep me busy, I had always kept my eye on Atlantic Canada. And there are many people in this room that we have kept in close contact with, never knowing that we were coming back. I also kept my subscription to All Nova Scotia. Just happened to be fortunate. And of course, I stayed in touch with Vanita Savani, who is the individual who succeeded me in this role. So for a variety of reasons, including the fact that the intense heat in Bahamas was overwhelming for my wife, who has multiple sclerosis, it made sense for us to come back to Canada. And we've got lots of family in Toronto. We're from Toronto. But our preference and desire was to come back to Atlantic Canada, because when I talked about what we were missing in the Caribbean was community, and Halifax was our #1 choice. I certainly miss this fantastic team, and there's a number of RBCers sitting at the tables right to my left. Just a fantastic team that takes care of our clients, the business community, our friends. And it just so happens that my son Aiden chose to go to St. Mary's. Sorry, Kim. And he went there before we knew we were moving back. I thought he'd be disappointed. We're moving into his turf. But when we told him we were coming back, he had an absolute smile on his face. So I'd say not many people can say they've achieved their dream job twice, but I can. I think I'm the only regional president in RBC's history that had the opportunity of having a redo. So I'm going to have another opportunity to do this role in one that I'm certainly passionate about, and I look forward to perhaps doing it better than I did the first time, and I think I did a pretty good job the first time around. And being here today, sponsoring this event, and RBC has done that for many years, and having the opportunity to introduce Mayor Mike Savage, also known as the King, apparently, these are privileges that I certainly don't take lightly. RBC has sponsored this event since it began because, like each of you here today, we're invested in Halifax's success. And so while we've grown to be Canada's largest bank and also one of the largest banks in the world, we have never forgotten our roots. This city was the foundation of RBC 153 years ago, and it started as the Merchant Bank of Halifax. And if you've got time, I can explain to you why we've got this bank in the Caribbean and the ties to Halifax, and they're very, very tight. So as I've driven around the city since returning, I can't help but feel proud of the investments that RBC's made here. We've got 15 branches, 2 commercial banking centers, our wealth management Dominion Securities office, our regional headquarters. We've got an advice center on Quinpool, as well as our innovation center in Bedford. And our population in Atlantic Canada is growing to over 2,500 employees. And one of the reasons we've been able to expand here in Halifax is because of the incredible growth that this city is experiencing. And this growth is critically important to us, and I know it's critically important to the rest of the business community, because it gives us confidence to invest in new ventures, deepen our stakes, create jobs, and build for the future. So in RBC's case, it's helped us make a business case to launch a new team of newcomer specialists. And this team is based in Halifax, but they support all of the region for RBC to help newcomers realize their full potential in life in Atlantic Canada. I'd say much of Halifax's growth can also be attributed to the leadership of our special guest. I've had the chance to work with many elected officials at all levels throughout my career, but I got to tell you, they don't come any better than Mike. Are there challenges? Sure there are. Any city growing at the rate that we are in Halifax will face challenges. And I think the better question is, who would you rather at the helm in dealing with those challenges than our mayor? He's a skilled politician, a proven team builder, committed volunteer. He leads with transparency, authenticity, courage as he tackles the difficult issues that face our city. And I know it's a tough job and it's a very busy job, but I say he's incredibly accessible. One of the most accessible elected leaders that I have ever encountered. And that's because he cares. He cares and he listens to the people who absolutely live in this community. So when I learned I was coming back to Halifax, I reached out to a number of people, and I certainly remember sending a note to Mayor Mike, certainly at the top of my list, because I was excited to come back. And when I heard that Mayor Mike was not running again, I'll tell you there was disappointment. Disappointment for the reason that I don't get the opportunity to continue to work with the mayor in my new role. But I think disappointment also for the amazing things that the mayor has done for this city. But I'll say this, along with everyone else in this sold-out room, we are grateful to have had you at the helm. You are leaving this city in so much better shape than when you started. And your leadership has paved the way for a legacy that I believe, and I think everyone in this room, will last for many years to come. So we're all anxious and excited to hear about your views on the state of our municipality, and we look forward to seeing the great things that you'll accomplish in your last months as you finish out your final term as mayor. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our mayor. I know we're going to have a short video before you come up, but certainly excited to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. For God's sake. So no. I haven't said anything yet. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm still going to talk. Listen, we had some music lined up here. My favorite song, I don't know if you guys, do you know the song Viva La Vida by Coldplay? I've been thinking about that recently. It opens up like this. I used to rule the world. Seas would rise when I gave the call. Now in the morning I sleep alone and sweep the streets I used to own. I sent that to Brad Anguish, our new supervisor of street sweeping, and I said that might be a job for me as well. I also want to acknowledge we're in Mi'kma'ki. This is the tradition of the unsurrendered land, the Mi'kmaq people, and I think we all have a lot of work to do in acknowledging the history and the peace and friendship treaties. It means a lot to me. There's a ton of people I saw coming in. I don't want to start to recognize folks, but there's a lot of people here. It means a lot to me that so many of you folks have come to join us. This is, in fact, my 12th annual State of the Municipality Address. Now, I've only been here 11 years, so you can figure out the math, but it is my 12th annual. This event has served as a really welcome occasion for me and an opportunity to report back on our progress against the priorities set by our council. I want to thank Patrick and the Chamber. By the way, yeah, that was early in COVID. He did the test, and we had a call saying, look, we want to encourage people to get tested. Patrick Sullivan is going to be doing the testing. Can you go down to the convention center? Dr. Strang was there, and get tested. It was the first time I was tested, in the nose. And I walked in, I saw Patrick, and then I saw a guy come in with a broom. I was thinking, oh my God, what's he gonna do to me here? And all the people who volunteered, and this place did a lot of work during COVID as well. My sister Sheila, who's with us, spent many hours doing COVID testing as well. I want to thank Wendy and the partnership, great partners in the economic development, Corey Bell, the chair of the board, and RBC. Chris, whether it was you, Vanita, Raj, or Kimmy, the president of RBC has been here for all of these, and means a lot. And to all the other sponsors, even Jim Mills, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. My staff and I have always taken this address seriously, and we've prepared carefully. We would pull in stats and data and images that together would show the story of a Halifax that has changed dramatically over the years. I actually smile when I think about all the work that's gone into it. If you ever saw my long-suffering Chief of Staff, Sean McKinley, out and about, and she wasn't her usual cheery self, we were probably working on one of these speeches at that very moment. We run through metrics: housing starts, population growth, GDP, business attraction, tourism, infrastructure, and a lot of things. In short, we go through a lot of data. But today, I'm going to do a little bit less of that. I want to take the opportunity to reflect on my time as mayor, share a few lessons, and offer some hopes for the future of our great city. And so please indulge me, because what are you going to do, fire me? I've been in public office now for 20 years, with a one-year hiatus. In my first mayoral campaign, I look at the smiling faces here: Cheryl Stewart, who ran the campaign, Andrew Black, Richie Mann, best agent ever, Jamie Welsh. And I look and I think about the platform that I had in 2012, and it was to make Halifax Canada's most livable, entrepreneurial, and inclusive city. It was perfect for a campaign because it was lofty and it was virtually unmeasurable. And yet these goals have really guided me over the years. Back then, you may recall, in 2012, people told me that Halifax had lost its swagger. Young people were leaving. Immigrants couldn't even find us on a map. This was just before Ray Ivany produced his landmark Now or Never report, calling for a radical rethinking of our entire provincial economy. When the blueprint for your future is titled An Urgent Call to Action, you got to pay attention. The Commission then predicted that our population would hit a peak of 948,000 and then begin a slide down to 926,000, unless we made dramatic moves to attract people, ideas, industry, and innovation. Well, look at us now. Halifax's population continues to grow at an extraordinary pace. While we await the most recent Halifax-specific numbers, Ian, I'm looking at you, we do know that the population of the province grew by more than 33,000 in the last year, a new record high, and that's after a trend of many record highs. In recent years, Halifax has accounted for about 4/5 of provincial population growth. If that holds, we should expect that Halifax gained somewhere around 27,000 people last year, pushing our population to around 510,000. The result? Halifax is an increasingly multicultural city where many languages are spoken, and we're bringing the world to our very doorstep. We're a city that has seized its ocean advantage to become a growing center for trade, as well as innovation and life sciences. In fact, the ocean sector generates around $6 billion, 13.5% of our GDP. We're a city where the Irving Shipyard continues to pulse with state-of-the-art building activity. In this historic military town, where we still line the docks to welcome members home. A city that is the new home to NATO's Defense Innovation Accelerator, the Diana, underscoring the importance of the Canadian forces, not only in terms of protecting our sovereignty and improving safety in an uncertain world, but importantly and fortunately for us, supporting the local economy and our innovation ecosystem. We're a city that welcomes the diversity of culture and ideas that arrive each fall with thousands of post-secondary students from across the country and around the world. Each year, more than 36,000 students contribute to the economic and the cultural fabric of our city and our post-secondary institutions. And I want to be very clear that international students are not only good for the bottom line of universities, they are integral to this city's talent advantage. In fact, they form a huge part They are a huge part of our value proposition. And everywhere I go now, it seems I meet people, including today, students who've come to Halifax and have decided to stay here. And I love it. Halifax is more than ever a tourism and events city, having just hosted a Junos that met with rave reviews, filling stages large and small with the sounds of Canada's best musicians. Here's a couple of winners right here. In June, we welcomed Sail GP. Anybody heard of Sail GP? Wendy Luther's heard of Sail GP. I want to tell you, this is the most exciting sailing in the world, and they're going to race through Halifax Harbor safely, but they're going to race through. And let's not forget last year's inspiring North American Indigenous Games, the largest multi-sport event we've ever hosted, and a really important step as well on our path to reconciliation. Canada's incredible gold medal win at the 2023 World Juniors, right next door, somewhere here. What a fun time that was. In fact, it was great, that thing, because there was still a chance that Connor Bedard would go to the Habs. Anyway, he went to the Hawks, that's fine. The question is, who wouldn't want to be the mayor of this place? But there comes a time for me and for the city to see what somebody else can bring to the role. For the past number of years, and certainly since my announcement that I wouldn't reoffer, many have remarked on the changes in Halifax since 2012. More excitement, investment, and building in a city that's actually getting younger. I like to think I've played a part in that, but others have done the hard lifting. Entrepreneurs, builders, community leaders, researchers, innovators, artists, even the agitators. Everybody who has loved this city in their own way has made us better. Some have allowed me to see the city through their eyes. I think of Pam Glode, the fearless leader of the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Centre, who helped us to realize the tests of truth and reconciliation in a lot of ways, but in particular with her bold vision to secure all orders of government support for a new friendship centre that is going to be dynamic. I can't wait to see it take shape, and I'm really proud that the municipality got on board early. I think of Dolly Williams and Irvin Carvery, seated over here, co-chairs of the African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity, together with community, and for community, and with people like Carol Ann Wright of the Halifax Partnership. They're setting us on a new course, recognizing generational inequities in our community and creating a roadmap for a better future. Dolly and Irvin, thank you to you and to your teams who are doing such amazing work. And thank you to RBC. You know, Chris was involved in this from the beginning when he was here. We had many conversations. So thank you to RBC for that great support. I think of our friend Sarah Napier, who's here, and everybody that she has inspired through the United Way, including co-chairing a poverty report with myself a number of years ago. She has done so much to make poverty unignorable in this community, and she and her team have made incredible difference in so many lives. And how about Will Brewer, our town crier? Now, I met Will one day. He came up to me, I think it was at a Team Possibles event, and he said, I want to come talk to you about some stuff. That was more than 10 years ago. He's not only one of the strongest advocates for people with Down syndrome and their families, he's also an entrepreneur. Check out his company, Planet 21, right, Will? Planet 21, check it out. Because I'm telling you, a successful city sees potential in all of its people, and its people see potential in their city. When I consider what's changed most about Halifax over nearly a dozen years, it might be confidence, our contagious belief in ourselves. Together we believe that HRM, all of the communities, have the right stuff. Maybe we've shaken off our East Coast humility to take our rightful place as a growing, dynamic city and region. I have long said, as Wendy has mentioned before, I prefer the challenges of growth to the challenges of stagnancy. But we all recognize that the pace of growth creates its own challenges. And I'm not here to sugarcoat them. They are real and they are deep. But they are not insurmountable. Let's consider the biggest one: housing and homelessness. Housing affordability and its extreme outcome, homelessness, is a crisis. It won't be solved by simply increasing market housing supply, though there is a role for that. The housing crisis demands deliberate, sustained policy attention and serious investment from all orders of government in collaboration with community. You probably know the stats. About 1,200 people in need of housing, some precariously sheltered, some still sleeping rough. A rental vacancy rate stubbornly set at 1% or below. Prime building sites sitting fallow awaiting for more favorable financial conditions and labor. You know, we need to build about 10,000 units a year to eliminate the deficit by 2031 and to keep pace with growth. And I would say that there is progress being made. We've seen what hard work and political will of all orders of government can do. New shelter spaces, transitional housing options like the bridge, a tiny home community in Sackville, and the first pop-up pallet structures. But of course, we can't stop at rudimentary shelter. A broad continuum of affordable options is needed to support all residents in our communities. The Federal Rapid Housing Initiative, which has resulted in approximately 180 deeply affordable units in HRM, and the more recent Housing Accelerator Fund are prime examples of governments working together to drive shared priorities. Under the Accelerator program, our municipality will see some $79 million in federal funding, allowing us to further speed up timelines and to work directly with private sector and not-for-profits to incent at least 2,600 new units. It's an important part of our efforts. And certainly nobody can say, I don't believe, that Halifax has been dragging its heels on housing approvals and permissive land use. On Tuesday, after strong debate, our council, and I mean strong, good, honest debate, our council passed first reading of an omnibus land use planning program. Our progressive plans will legislatively enable well over 200,000 housing units, and we need them, and we need them as quickly as possible. I want to show you one of my favorite slides. Oh my gosh, you know. Does anybody know what that is? That's it. That's the McDonald Bridge, coming back from the McDonald Bridge. So, I live in Dartmouth. Very great fortune. And I don't know the last time I saw a crane in Dartmouth outside of a few birds at Shuby Park. I really don't. When I drive to work in the morning now, I pass 4 different construction sites with cranes on them. And I pass this one. There's 4 separate cranes on that site at the McDonald Bridge in Dartmouth. It's unimaginable, really. The challenge is more of those, and is turning more opportunity sites like this into housing. HRM's regional land use planning has enabled greater density, visible throughout the region. This, along with the approval of shared housing, backyard suites, regulations on short-term rentals, all led by council, strong council work as well as staff, is helping to address housing supply. I wanted to show you something. These are the province's Economics and Stats Division. I don't know if John Laura still has. I saw John when I came in. Boy, I got to tell you, I really appreciate John coming out. We've worked together in the last number of years. The impact of Halifax housing activity made Nova Scotia the building leader in Canada. Look at that. Look at, the blue is Halifax. The dark blue is Nova Scotia, and those are the other provinces. We are the current building leader in Canada by a staggering margin, 184% growth compared to 5.3% nationally. When comparing February 24 to February 23, Halifax saw a 361.8% increase in housing starts. The 9,617 units we had under construction in February of this year is a 44.6% year-over-year increase. In comparison, housing starts in the rest of Nova Scotia were at minus 10%. And look at the trend line. Do we have the trend line on that? I want to thank our planners. Our planners are amazing. We saw it this week. We always see it. It's unbelievable how much work our planning department have done. And they got a standing ovation from council the other day. You know, it's so easy to look at bureaucrats and think, well, they're not doing what they should be doing. It is unbelievable how hard some of our folks work. And I really appreciate that as the mayor. They're smart, they're ambitious, they have an eye to the future. And we were on this before the federal or provincial governments were even talking about housing. Now, the revised National Housing Strategy recognizes the link between housing and infrastructure funding, while carrying out specific money to better address homelessness and encampments. A good step. Ultimately, though, what's required, and I want to thank Patrick for his comments, I really do, we need a fundamental shift in how cities are funded. If we're to be serious about building not just units where people can be stored, but communities in which they can actually live. I have been so impressed by the work of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I'm so pleased that today, Carol Saab, who you see in this picture, has come down and is with us and has provided unbelievable support to municipalities across the country. And she's sitting beside my municipal political mentor, Bill Karsten, who was the president of FCM and helped encourage me to become chair of the Big City Mayors. I love working with you guys. In my capacity as chair of FCM's Big City Mayors Caucus, I've joined with mayoral counterparts in calling for renewed investment in critical community infrastructure as we address housing supply, affordability, homelessness, and climate change. If we're to meet the challenge of housing people faster, let's ensure we're building homes that can withstand the changing climate, homes that people can afford, that are accessible, homes that have access to transit, water, recreation, and green space. A recent study for FCM shows that on average, across the country, every new housing unit, not house, unit, in Canada requires $107,000 in municipal infrastructure. Think about that. My first house did not cost $107,000. If cities are to house more and more people, as Patrick said, we need to recognize that the pre-Confederation property tax model is no longer up to the task. Because cities own and maintain most of the infrastructure that people rely on every day, 61%, and yet we collect approximately 10 cents of every tax dollar. Indeed, growth is not only not paying for growth, we've seen our share of tax revenue fall from around 14% in the 1990s to less than 10% today. Now, we have seen what's possible in some other provinces. The province of Quebec is looking at new fiscal tools for municipalities, including transferring a portion of sales tax. Here at home, as Patrick also said, the province saw revenues jump dramatically from personal, corporate income taxes, sales tax, and equalization. Meanwhile, municipal revenues can't keep up with that kind of growth. So it's a top priority for Canada's mayors. A new deal is critical to our city's continued success and equally to our country's aspirations. And we look forward to having conversations about Halifax's fiscal framework with Minister Lohr and others. And we're not complaining to the province. We're not saying they're doing something unethical. We're just saying it's time to have a look at this new national fiscal imbalance. While we're challenged to build new roads, rec centers, stormwater, transit hubs, fire stations, parks, and playgrounds, we're also bearing witness to the calamitous infrastructure impacts of climate change. Last year showed us Nova Scotia has become a year-round disaster area. Incredibly damaging spring wildfires, summer floods, fall hurricanes, volatile snowstorms. Our infrastructure cannot withstand this onslaught. Nobody's can, and it's just the beginning. Consider what the fire that ripped through Upper Tantallon neighborhoods tells us about the design of dozens of subdivisions throughout the region, built without proper emergency egress and often served by volunteer fire departments. Now imagine the cost to improve the safety for everybody. The climate crisis must be met with our best ideas, our tireless efforts, and a fundamental shift away from wasteful ways. If you don't believe me, ask any young person, including Sean McKinley's daughter, who happens to be in that picture. Shouldn't we all agree that we owe them a future? When I reflect on accomplishments of my time in office, the approval in 2020 and the implementation of Halifax Climate Action Plan stands out. Among Canada's most ambitious climate plans, it commits us to achieving net zero municipal ops by 2030 and net zero community by 2050. And under the leadership of Shannon Miedema and her team, and of Council, we're seeing headway. Last spring, we opened the Halifax Common Pool. I don't know if any of you have been to that. It's amazing. It's built to be net zero ready with solar panels on the roof, and it's just one example of how we're building and retrofitting to reduce our footprint. Similarly, we're rolling out municipal EV charging network to encourage more people to make the switch, and we're doing it with our own fleet. Our first electric bus is going through its paces, Dave Riggy, with 59 more on order. And how about an electric fast ferry to Bedford? How cool would that be? Imagine how much nicer it is to hop on a boat than to sit on the Bedford Highway, cursing your fellow traffic. Cogswell, overbuilt roadways are now giving way to the first signs of what's to come. A more human-scale neighborhood, powered by district energy, connected by transit. The only climate change solution is deliberate, sustained, meaningful action, including the commitments made under the first of its kind CEO Climate Action Charter, created by HRM and the partnership, and with the leadership of some of the people that are in this room. And it's embedded in the charter of our economic strategy: people, planet, prosperity. After nearly 12 years in the mayor's office, I feel somewhat qualified to share a bit of advice for the next mayor and for our wonderful city. I've already met with a number of people who've come to see me about it. I can tell you the job comes with no manual, but being mayor carries a responsibility to meet the high expectations of the people who've handed you the mandate. So a few thoughts, if you will. Know what you don't know. It's far more than you realize. But don't worry, the professional team at the city will help you with the rest. Led by the impressive Kathy O'Toole, our first female CAO. They are remarkable. Our staff are remarkable public servants, and they want you as the next mayor or councillor to be successful. I would also say think big picture, resist courting likes or competing for short attention spans. It is a race to the bottom. I've always felt it made sense to strive to be idealistic, not be blinded by ideology. One of the most important roles of mayor, not enshrined in legislation, is the power to convene. Use it. Be curious, and when you're not sure what to do, and it happens all the time, call somebody. I remember the early days of COVID, when nobody knew what to do, and I was sitting in my office all alone. I called Patrick, I called Wendy, I called the Restaurant Association, I called the car dealers, I called everybody in my Rolodex just to sort of, that tells you how old I am, the Rolodex, just to sort of say what's going on and what can we do to be helpful. Understand, too, this is really important, you are not the boss of council. The mayor is not the boss of council. You are a member of council with colleagues who do extremely hard work on behalf of their residents. And perhaps most importantly, take the job seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. One of the delights of being mayor compared with other orders of government is the degree of freedom to be yourself and occasionally to make a fool of yourself. Early in my tenure, my office convinced me to make a video comparing myself to Brad Pitt, an obvious comparison, to help the Quinpool. I always told people, you know, for this video that they say the camera adds 10 pounds, and we used a lot of cameras. That was for the Quinpool Road Merchants in a street makeover contest. I remember line dancing in Grand Parade for the Canadian Country Music Awards. We had 150 people lined up to line dance in Grand Parade. I think it was Motion Dance, came and instructed us on how to line dance. And look at me, facing this way. Everybody else facing you. How could so many people get it wrong on the same day in Grand Parade? Taking on the Boys and Girls Club in hockey. This was right in Grand Parade. We had AC/DC Thunderstruck blaring from the sound system, the old bell tower. Look at Councillor Blackburn there was our goalie. That was so much fun. Singing, "Oh Lord, It's Hard to Be Humble" with Gloria McCluskey at the different stage of mind for mental health. Star, that was fun. I regaled a Halifax Comedy Fest audience with the tales of my colonoscopy. And yes, if you haven't had one yet, you should. It's fun times. But some days have held real joy. Like when I presided over a public vow renewal, recognizing the 10th anniversary of marriage equality in Canada. The sun shone beautifully that day. So you can picture Grand Parade with the sun shining. The symphony quartet played Still the One. 28 couples, half of whom were same-sex, half opposite sex, declared that love is love, and love who you want to love, as onlookers cheered them on. Great. How about the time the Mooseheads won the Memorial Cup? Fun fact, Mooseheads never won a Memorial Cup until I became mayor. Or think about all the celebrations we've had for the Stanley Cup with Sydney and Nathan and Brad. All the times we cheered on the amazing Thunderbirds. And how about the Halifax Wanderers? And this weekend, the Halifax Wanderers, is Derek in the room, 2 o'clock on Saturday? 2 o'clock on Saturday, the Wanderers kick off their season, and on Sunday, I think it is, the Thunderbirds open their playoff series in Albany. 2 big events on the same weekend. It reminds me of a time on the eve of a massive same-day occasion. We had, the Mooseheads were in the final of the Memorial Cup, and the Wanderers had a big game. And I went on Twitter and I urged employers to go easy on their staff. the morning after if they happened to show up a little bit late. Most people took it in the spirit it was intended. A few didn't, but that doesn't bother me. That's just life. I mean, come on, lighten up a little bit. Of course, other days have also been incredibly challenging. Certainly the early days of the pandemic were lonely and frightening, and they taught us a broader definition of essential service. There was the shared trauma of the mass casualties of April 2020, seared into our memories. Or when tragedy struck a newcomer Syrian family with the loss of their 7 children in a house fire, Halifax wrapped its arms around the parents and the extended community. Through the extraordinary gracious leadership of Imam Abdullah and Dr. Ahmad Hussein, the city united in mourning. From the use of the Kennard Centre for a public memorial service to the provision of buses for the mourners, an honor guard of police and firefighters, help arrived from all quarters without question, and not a dollar changed hands. It said everything about this city and its people, about generosity of spirit, strength, compassion, and shared humanity. It showed the world that while we are a city rooted in rich traditions, we are ready to embrace and support the diversity of those who seek us out. So, as I prepare to leave office, I do so with a strong sense of pride in our community, heartened by our progress, but conscious of the work left to be done. Entering the home stretch, I find myself thinking more about what's next for me, yes, but even more for the city that we share. Because this place belongs to all of us, those who've been here for millennia, those whose presence have helped to shape it for generations, and those who have found it only recently. It is everybody, together, working to build a city that is safe, prosperous, livable, inclusive, and welcoming to all. One of the best parts of being mayor is to work with the incredible staff of the whole city, but more particularly of my own team in the mayor's office. They've helped me in so many ways, and I'm very pleased that many of them are here today, those who work with me now who had to come, and those who worked in the past. The respect I hold for the office of mayor, I never won an argument in 12 years, but the respect I hold for the office of mayor, the residents they serve, and me personally, led by Sean, but with so many others, is almost beyond my ability to understand. Now, I don't want to tell you my whole life story. I could, but I have to think of my own family, beginning with my parents and my siblings. My father lived a pretty public life. My father lived a pretty public life. He was very dedicated to public service. My mother, Margaret, coincidentally the greatest person I ever met, was also a community activist in her own way and was less well known. This portrait hangs in my office of my parents. This picture was taken from a photo of them on the Blue Nose in the Bredor Lakes shortly after Dad became Premier. As you can see, they steered the ship together, complementing each other perfectly. Their inspiration continues to guide me and my 6 siblings. Bridget and Sheila are here. Each of us is profoundly grateful and inspired by their lives and their example. Okay, this picture. We were the family of the week in the 70s sometime. The Chronicle Herald. We're family of the week. I'm the one with a little tiny head over on the end there. And those leisure suits that Barney and Philip are wearing were sponsored by Stedman's, I think, back in the day. That's our family. In university, I fell for a woman who was clearly out of my league, and we've been married for 37 years. Darlene? Darlene has always put family first, and let's be honest, she has made most of the sacrifices. She's somewhat lukewarm to politics, but she's allowed me to pursue my passion for this life, and I couldn't be more grateful. Emma and Connor were 7 and 4 when I was first elected as an MP. They're now forging their own way in the world, and we could not be more proud. And they care for others, which pleases me to no end. And the fact that they choose to live here in our city, the city that we built together, is the greatest personal validation of my time in office. Next year, a new mayor will stand before you with a new council, and they will know the great honor of serving in this community. And wherever I am, I will be wishing them the best. I will be cheering them on, whoever they are. This job is busy, challenging, occasionally frustrating, even maddening, but it's the best job in the world. As I reflect, it occurs to me that the greatest fortune of my life was to be born into a remarkable family. The greatest decision of my life was to marry Darlene. The greatest blessing of my life are my children. But the greatest privilege of my life has been to serve as your mayor. I thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow. I see why Wendy asked me to come up after Mike. Thanks, Wendy. Thank you, Mayor Savage, inspiring remarks, your humility, your laughter, your fun. It's just amazing listening to you speak, and thank you for your service for the municipality over the past 12 years. It's somewhat surreal for me today, realizing that this will be your last State of the Municipality presentation. Over the years, we have watched you lead Halifax through unprecedented growth. Halifax is one of the best cities to live, work, and visit. We host world stage events, and your steady hand has consistently been at the helm. I know you're much too humble to want me to shower you with accolades for your accomplishments as mayor. So perhaps I'll just save that for your roast next year, as you did for me a year ago. I'd like to close out by thanking our co-hosts, the Halifax Chamber, all of today's sponsors that are here today, and to all of you for joining us. On behalf of the Halifax Partnership, I'll ask you to mark some upcoming events in your calendar. Thursday, June 6th for the 2024 Halifax Index. Ian's Time to Shine. It'll be very good, presented by TD. And then on Thursday, June 20th, for our annual general meeting where I'll be saying goodbye to the Halifax Partnership. You'll see the invites come to your inbox soon. So thank you all, and now I'll ask Patrick Sullivan back to stage.
Thank you, Corey. And thank you all. It has been a wonderful 12 years working with Mayor Savage, and I say that on behalf of the Chamber. We appreciate your collaboration, your willingness to work with the business community during the tough times and the good times. The next mayor has big shoes to fill, literally and figuratively. So thank you very much, Mayor, for your comments today. And I think Corey just made a great comment. Thank you for your service. It's been service, both federally and municipally, so thank you very much. Thanks again to our sponsors for today's event, our presenting sponsor RBC, our host partners WSP, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, Emera, Office Interiors, the Halifax Regional Municipality, the Nova Scotia Department of Labor Skills and Immigration, and our AV partner Encore. And thank you to our co-hosts, the Halifax Partnership, Wendy and the team at the partnership. And of course, thanks to our team at the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. I just want to thank again, personally, Mayor Mike Savage for working as a partner over the years that I've spent at the Chamber, the last 8 years. It's been wonderful working with you. I look forward to hearing what you've got next. I was very impressed by the photos that you showed just a little while ago, and didn't realize that you used to be so good looking. I skipped a part. Mayor, we made a donation to North Grove in Dartmouth, so we have a little gift for you. I think we have a gift close by. There we go. Maybe, Emma, you can just pass it over to the mayor rather than having me do it. It is a basket of goodies from downtown Dartmouth and from chamber members. It does include a few beers and a few ciders and a few goodies. I hope that's okay. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Please look at the halifaxchamber.com/events page to see what's coming up in May. We have an event almost every week over the next few weeks, and they are great events from BDC to WestJet to Mayor Thompson, sorry, a little Freudian slip. Minister Thompson, the health minister. I don't think she's going to run for mayor. Anyway, Minister Thompson, who will be talking to us about healthcare as well. So lots of events coming up. Thank you very much, Mayor Savage, and thank you all for coming today. Thanks very much.